Yeah, so right now I'm going to start with the NDC topic. NDC, it's one of the commitments that we have, right? On the pledge. I think we all want to integrate cooling measures into our NDCs. We have, like, one of the means of support at the Coalition Secretariat we have done so far, as per our NDC working group, is to develop guidelines on this. And this has been a collaborative work we have done with almost 10 organizations, including Ozone Secretariat, C4All, UNDP, GIZ, CCAC, CLASP, Climate Work Foundation, United for Efficiency, UNEP Copenhagen. So all of them together came to develop this NDC cooling guidelines. And it's going to be launched on Monday on our website. This is the first level. Second level of support we have done for you is to provide a series of webinars. We have already started that, by the way, in collaboration with the NDC partnership, within like the in-country facilitators. We brought them as the practitioners, and we started to provide them a walkthrough these guidelines. What about the third level of support we do is in-country support. So we provide a support package to countries, and we are going to launch expression of interest for countries, like if you need really support on the NDC, so we can have a consultation call and then go like one by one. I will provide just quickly an overview about our support. So please join me to welcome my colleague Ben Hartley from C4All. He's a program manager for Cooling for All at C4All, and he was one of the really like collaborations that I'm really happy with, to join with him to develop these guidelines, and second also to develop the training material that we're gonna provide it to you through the webinars that we're gonna have. Over to you to walk us through quickly.
Okay, we're going to try to help Amr perform a miracle here and do a very quick 2 minutes on the content of the guide. First of all, yeah, my name is Ben Hartley. For those of you who I don't know, I'm from Sustainable Energy for All, and we've been very happy to collaborate with the Cool Coalition, UNEP, and all of the partners on this guide. Our contribution, I think, is focused on adaptation, but we're very much excited to see it come out. I think we recognize also that different countries are at different stages of submitting their NDCs or developing their NDC this year. But we also want to say, I think, that this guide will also be useful for mitigation plans and adaptation plans that come subsequently. And as Amr outlined, there are a series of materials and support offers that will come with it subsequently. So the guide itself, I think, focuses really on mitigation and adaptation. On the mitigation side, we know the vicious cycle, the vicious cooling cycle, and that breaking it is critical to reducing emissions over time. Oh, wrong way, sorry. On the sort of adaptation resilience side, we know that cooling is linked to a number of sustainable development goals, and how, right? Like gender equality, urban environments, etc. So why are mitigation actions important? I think it's helpful to remember that installed capacity of cooling equipment globally will triple by 2050, and that this could be about 10% of emissions at that time. Why are adaptation targets important? They're very important to understanding the impact of cooling on the well-being of people, and that's why sort of the guide focuses on developing mitigation and adaptation targets. So I'll go relatively quickly through these. One question that we have is, do you know the cooling access gap in your country? Over 1.1 billion people at high risk, and recognizing that cooling is not a luxury. This is an important part of the guide, how to measure sort of improved access to cooling and improve adaptive capacity. So to give you a sense, the guide on both mitigation measures and adaptation measures starts with key guiding questions, like what are the unique drivers or needs in your country for mitigation? How can we balance the need for increased cooling access with emission reduction goals? And then it goes through, and then I will say on the mitigation side, it iterates out that Kigali implementation plans and NCAPs, where they are available, are really low-hanging fruit for defining the baseline, coming up with targets, as well as measures to improve progress. So for mitigation as well as with adaptation, you're going to see step-by-step, stage-by-stage guides to go from taking stock of available data to analyzing progress, monitoring results. So for both mitigation and adaptation, we have a series of steps that are outlined in the guide that I will refer you to the guide and its forthcoming publication on. It delineates between emissions, defining the baseline, in defining the baseline, it delineates between emissions from HFCs and emissions from electricity use. Carries on, step 3, analyzing options, again, NCAPs and KIPs being low-hanging fruit. Step 4, selecting measures, defining indicators, and analyzing progress. It follows a similar process on adaptation. Guiding questions, how well understood is this issue of access to cooling? What data gaps exist, and they are substantial. What resources, networks are available, and how do you balance today's priorities with protection with tomorrow's urgency of reducing emissions and providing adaptation solutions. So from our side, I think the key question in terms of understanding the data, defining the baseline, option selecting measures on adaptation really starts with who's exposed and vulnerable to the impacts of extreme heat. Really, ideally, that's your baseline for understanding how you're going to improve adaptive capacity. Now, cooling is connected to agriculture, health, and urban planning, and there are other indicators that you can use to understand and track that progress. So in homes, fans or insulation, in food cold chains, the existence of cold chains for crops and livestock, and in health, cold chains and refrigeration and health centers. And these indicators can also be very helpful in tracking progress, understanding like where this data is available and tracking progress on improved adaptive capacity and improved access to cooling in the NDC, and the guide goes through this. Similarly, I think I just highlight here that when it comes to adaptation and resilience, many of the measures that you will put in place for adaptation are win-win. Passive cooling, nature-based solutions, sustainable cold chains, they all have both mitigation and adaptation benefits. While there are adaptation-only sort of measures like urban heat action plans, et cetera, many of them are win-win. I won't go through this in detail, but just to say that there is a support package. I know that Amer has a little bit more to say to that, so maybe I'll turn it back to him and hope that was quick. But just want to reiterate that this has been a very collaborative effort between the institutions, and SE for All has been very pleased to be a part of it, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben, very much for this, I would say, super fast presentation about our guidelines together. Please stay with me, we can moderate this session together. Regarding the support package that I said, as the third level that we provide to the signatory countries, we are more than happy to receive your request through this expression of interest, so we can have in-depth consultation, how we can better support you, either by mobilizing as consultant, national consultant or international consultant that can help on the data collection, also on the interministerial coordination, also perhaps on developing more scenarios. So this is something we can have. And we started already to work with a couple of countries in this regard. The launch of this NDC guideline. But what's really makes these guidelines very comprehensive, it provides you with a step by step, how to integrate cooling measures. This is something that we had already addressed, and also integrate and help you to embed cooling measures into both equally, adaptation and mitigation. Because if, I remember we have already 8-9 consultations with countries here, some of you I already had calls with, and we started to understand how you integrate cooling into your indices. And the first thing, I don't want to mention exactly, but it was just mostly limited to the mitigation part. So this guideline help you to really expand your scope. So yeah, and what also important is what you mentioned, the framework, having the MRV framework to help you track the NDC implementation on cooling. This is something also that this guideline provide. Other than this, I would like really to have to welcome, when we don't have time, so I'm going to take the interventions from the 3 countries that we already connected with. Please join me, welcome Dr. Leslie Smith from Grenada, and also Ubu from Nigeria, and Dr. Tuan from Vietnam. We can take the interventions from the ground. I'm sorry for this, we don't really have the time for that. I'm feeling like we are all ahead of time. So let me start with you, Dr. Leslie. Can you tell us what motivated Grenada to integrate cooling into your NDC? And what are kind of influence that has like somehow influenced this process? Like there was any major event that you, okay, we want to include cooling, or any stakeholder that already also like perhaps like forced this decision to happen? And any challenges that you encountered through this process?
Yeah, thank you very much, and my pleasure to present on the sort of a roadmap and the initiatives taken in Grenada. So in 2018, we conducted a greenhouse gas inventory for the Iraq sector. And that was very instructive to us in terms of where we need to do, where we need to go and what we needed to do. From that greenhouse gas inventory that was conducted, it indicated that 29% of our total greenhouse gas emissions came from the cooling sector. And over 60% of the energy used in buildings was going towards cooling. So we recognized from there that the mitigation potential for the cooling sector was huge in achieving our NDC targets. And so the first thing that we tried to do when the INDCs were being developed, that's way back when in 2016, was to get the HFCs into it. We were unsuccessful at that time. So another effort was made to get F-gases into the updated NDCs. And the only new gas that was included in the updated NDCs were the F-gases. So that was our first introduction into the NDCs of the cooling sector. We were also able to introduce energy efficiency in that update as well, but it did not specifically reference the cooling sector, but energy efficiency as a concept. Now, in the NDC 3.0, we have been engaged in extensive discussions again to strengthen the cooling sector in the NDCs. So now, our NDC cooling roadmap is under consideration for NDC 3.0. So our NCAP is expected to be included in NDC 3.0. And that is going to strengthen the national obligations and commitment towards addressing the cooling sector in the NDCs. And I just want to reiterate one last point that I made yesterday, that we need to get cooling on the agenda of climate. The cooling sector has huge mitigation potential. I just mentioned earlier on how much electricity is being used for the cooling sector. In some cases, it goes up to 90%. And that energy, 98% of our electricity that's generated comes from diesel. So if we can introduce renewable energy as well, and everything else that is in our National Cooling Action Plan and our NDC cooling roadmap, it means that we can cut down that 29% to something significantly less in allowing us to reach those NDC targets. So it involves an all-of-society approach with all of the stakeholders, the Association of Technicians, the importers. Government had to lead the way with policy, so we've had to put a number of policies in place. And I'm happy to report that we are going to be banning the importation of HFC equipment up to 2 refrigeration tons. We have 100% concession on duties and taxes for any air-conditioned unit that uses natural refrigerants, or any refrigerating equipment that uses natural refrigerants or powered by renewable energy. They are exempted from all duties and taxes. So we see now a very progressive penetration of natural refrigerants into the sector, because it's actually cheaper to buy an R290 split air conditioner in Grenada than an R32 or R410A at the moment. So we have been making some strides in that regard. We have done some demonstration projects looking at solar air conditioning that have some fantastic results with support from GIZ that we're going to be publishing soon as well. So that has been the journey towards getting not only the F-gases now, but the NDC cooling roadmap into the NDCs.
That's quite impressive, I think, Ben, to hear about the progress of Grenada. I remember when we consulted Grenada, when we were writing up the NDC cooling guide, I remember the GIZ also colleagues have been in the call to also follow up the discussions in order to make sure that we capture all of the success story of Grenada. Thanks, Dr. Leslie, very much. I will come again on a follow-up question, but let me move to Nigeria to hear from Obuho in a nutshell, like also your motivation and inclusion of this. Perhaps also you touch base on several elements. I know like the gender aspect, etc. So over to you, Obuho, to walk us through the journey of NDC of Nigeria on cooling.
All right, thank you, Amel. For Nigeria, I'm speaking from my heart right now. You know, the process of developing an NDC is not just, it's something that you have to do a map out of green policies, all right, in the country. For all sectors, you have to map out the green policies, all right, that support reduction of emissions. And then for our NDC 1.0, cooling wasn't included. You know, for NDC 2.0, because we needed to increase our ambition, and then we didn't stumble upon, we included in developing the NCAPs. And when we revised, we had to do a revision to review, and we saw that HFCs have a very great GWP potential, all right? When you're doing your short-lived climate pollutant kind of mitigation measures, you know, methane, HFCs are really strong short-lived climate pollutant. So when we identified that, we had to bring the HFCs and say, where do we put this? We brought in, we looked at the IPPU sector, all right? We needed to work in line with the UNFCCC sectors, all right? So we said, okay, we wouldn't put it under energy, we wouldn't put it under agriculture, we would just focus on IPPU, and then there was a proposal on scaling up energy efficiency, all right, in cooling. So we took that project, we integrated it into our NDC 2.0, and then we actually elaborated on how this is a very good mitigation measure, all right? Like Granada said, that cooling, you know, if it's being tackled well, then we can reduce emissions. But what we are looking at, the next steps now is for NDC 3.0. How do we now, not just for mitigation, but also for cooling to be integrated into the agri sector based on the agricultural cool chains? How can it be integrated into building and construction? All right. And we have a number of policies that supports energy efficiency, the building codes, the national energy policy, you know, so all those things we brought in, everything that has to do with the GCP commitments. We just want to work with you guys and with the guidelines that Ben have developed. So we want to try and pull out all these and then let it work out for us, because for us, we are not just looking at an aspirational NDC 3.0, we are looking at an investable and bankable NDC 3.0 so that we'll be able to attract a lot of investors. Thank you.
Thanks, Obu, for this clarification, especially last remark. Before I move to Vietnam, would you like to have a comment on Obu?
No, I just very quickly, I think it's a very good point about the investable nature of NDC 3.0. I think there's been a lot of work done. We've heard a lot about the financing strategies that are available, but particularly when it comes to the agricultural sector, like making NDCs bankable, making cooling commitments in NDCs bankable, particularly for adaptation, needs to be a priority. I think it's something that we need to sort of come together on a little bit more. But
I echo you, Ben, and to be honest, the next just like quick also fast track session we have on NCAP is going to really answer your point here, let's say, or provide more clarification. Having and formulating an NCAP for a country, it makes much easier to integrate cooling, and also with the investment roadmap, it makes it very much investable. Moving to Vietnam, Dr. Phuan, like if you could also share your insights through the journey of integrating cooling into Vietnam, NDC, and also we know that there has been lots of cooling mentioned in the national strategy. We would like to hear from you about the journey, lessons learned, and also the challenges that you perhaps have already overcame.
So thank you so much. Thank you, also colleague from the Secretariat, to give me an opportunity to present some information about the integration of cooling in Vietnam NDCs. So when we were working on drafting the updated NDC in 2022, and our expert just informed our minister that cooling have just high potential for the NDC. And at that time, my minister just requested expert to help us to calculate. And we found that in 2022, the cooling sector consumed about 1/4 of energy of the, just the country's total energy consumption. And under the BAU scenario, the sector is expected or projected to emit 91.7 million ton CO2 equivalent by 2030. And the number can reach 116 million ton of CO2 equivalent in 2050. That's why we put cooling into NDCs, the updated NDCs. It's just the reason why we put it in. And in 2022, it was the first time Vietnam has put cooling into our NDCs under the energy sector and also for industry processes.
But also, Dr. Tuan, as far as I know, you have also included cooling into other national strategies, like on different measures, not necessarily only on mitigation part. Like, could you have also elaborate a little bit more on where actually or what kind of measures you integrated into your national strategy on cooling?
Yeah, just after COP26, when we committed to net zero target by 2050, and we came back home and we worked on our updated NDC and also for the national strategy on climate change. And at that time, I just mentioned, the first time we mentioned cooling in our NDCs and also for the national strategy. So first we invite and requested experts to help us to calculate, and then we also organized the workshop to have to consult with the stakeholders. For example, for just academia and also for the businesses. And then we try to involve them in the process. And also in the way that we put the cooling sector in our NDCs to give the signal to the private sector and the society on how we live, just with sustainable cooling to help the countries to contribute to mitigate GHG emission.
Thanks, Dr. Tuan, really for walking us through the journey of Vietnam. It's quite insightful and I would say extremely useful to hear about the journey of Vietnam. We are also planning to support more Vietnam into the next process on NDCs. I'm right now going to ask again Dr. Leslie if you have one or I would say quite fast advice for other countries based on your lesson learned from Grenada on integration. Like what could be the lesson learned that you already can share with others in a very brief note?
So I think the most important lesson is public consultation and awareness creation. People need to understand the context of the cooling sector. We take cooling for granted until we get a hurricane or a flood or something and there is no power and there is no cooling for our medicine, for our food, just for even drinking water. So I think awareness creation is important, and stakeholder consultation. Our end users, the people who make the decision, needs to be made aware of the technology options that are available, of the impact of these gases on an environment, the impact of the emissions from the energy, and so the decision that they make is going to be an informed decision that's going to determine what happens down the road. So I think those would be my key takeaways: the public consultation and the education and awareness that needs to be created.
Thank you, Dr. Leslie, very much. It's very also a valuable insight about the public consultation. I think it's one of the critical steps that, if you may agree, Ben, it's regarding the investment. Like when you really engage all the concerned stakeholders, it makes it much easier to move towards implementation. In 30 seconds, Obu, any last remark you would like to say for other countries to encourage on having more, let's say, also integrating cooling measures?
All right, so I want to end by saying that there are a lot of opportunities embedded in cooling. All right, the technology alone, we have with the National Cooling Action Plan, and then financial institutions, when they saw that we had integrated cooling into our NDC 2.0, so the Bank of Industries now express interest that they want to support in training of technicians. And then with that, we've been able to have a very successful outcomes, apart from waiting for UNEP and all other development partners to support. So there's a lot of benefits, all right, in integrating cooling. And then, but I want to ask how many of us here have NCAPs? I don't know how many countries that are present here that have already developed their NCAPs, all right, because that will be what will inform the integration of cooling into their NDCs. So I just want to encourage countries to develop NCAPs. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a very also another useful. Having NCAPs helps the countries very much to integrate cooling into your NDCs, because the first step of NCAP, which is I'm going to cover quickly, to establish the interministerial cooling. And then it provides you with the data collection, because this is the first thing that you need to have when you are going to formulate your NCAP. And also, when you develop the NCAP, you are going to recognize more the subsectors in cooling, and then this will encourage you to go further for the investment. Dr. Atwan, before we wrap up this session, do you have any final closing remark on your lesson learned for other countries?
I think I had the same idea with colleagues from Grenada. Is a public engagement is very important in this process, because we know that when we have more severe impact of climate change, it means that the countries like Vietnam were hit by the heat stress. So it means that the demand for cooling is growing rapidly. So it means that we must engage the society for just the sustainable cooling. So like a contribution to mitigate the GHG emission. And we think in the future, just at the moment, we are working on developing NDC 3.0, and we just want to promote the role of the society and the private sector in the cooling sector in the contribution to the reduction of GHG emission.
Thank you, Dr. Tuan, very much for also sharing your insights. Having said that, I will move to Ben. If you... okay, so thanks. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Amr, for your presentation and the discussion. I have a question about measure of mitigation and adaptation. Okay. We know when we're talking about the measure of mitigation, we have level of reduction of GHG gases. But when we're talking about the adaptation and measure of adaptation, You know, we don't have the targets on the global goal about adaptation. How can we follow up the measures, the target of adaptation, and that reflected with the MRV? When we're talking about the MRV, we have a procedure and guidance in IPCC to follow up GHG inventory. About the adaptation, what is the methodology to follow up the implementing on level ambition in adaptation?
Yeah, it's a very good question, one that the guide tries to get into a little bit to provide some suggestions. To an extent, it is going to be up to countries, and it is going to be dependent on what data is available. The place that we sort of recommend starting with is identifying the number of people, like centering it on people, and the number of people that are exposed and vulnerable to extreme heat, and working with that as sort of a baseline to reduce it over time. Now, that takes into account heat exposure, which would be probably determined by a national statistical approach. And then you can look at factors that include access to energy or poverty exposure to really sort of zero in on those who are at highest risk. That's one approach. Another is looking at specific, like different sectors or different indicators within sectors. So in buildings, you might look at, the proportion of buildings that use passive cooling techniques as an indicator that you would want to improve over time. In the agricultural and in food systems, it could be the amount of food that is lost due to a lack of access, due to a lack of cold chains. Again, data specific. And in the health sector, you might look at, say, the proportion of clinics that have access to refrigeration and freezing for vaccines, and working to improve that metric over time. But it's a very good question. It's one that the guide starts to get to, but is one that probably more work is needed to sort of identify the specific figures and trackable baselines over time. Thank you. And that can be my closing comment, because that's what I would have said anyways.
Thanks, Ben, very much. Thanks, Rock, for your intervention. With that, I would like to conclude our session today on the NDC guideline. Please join me, give a round of applause to our panelists today. Thanks, Ben, really again for your presentation on the guide. With this, I will move to the last part. We have two very interesting case studies from Cambodia and Morocco. Before we just move to His Excellency Dr. Pak to share his presentation, I wanted to, are you all aware of the NCAP? How many countries already here are seated, they have the NCAP? I know overall on the pledge signatories from the progress, I tracked that of course, but I would like to, can you raise your hand? Who's like the country has NCAP? One, two. Okay. Morocco, you're about, huh? Okay. Okay. So, I don't see. Peru, Ghana, Vietnam, of course. Yeah. Yeah. So, overall, we have, I believe, more than 30 countries in the pledge. They have the NCAP. National Cooling Action Plan, overall on the globe, so far 39 countries. And my colleague Manjit already has, like our expert on the NCAP, he has the exact number, and we have this number in our pledge signatories progress report. But formulating the NCAP, it's the first step. It's really to help you as on the country level to collect your data in cooling. The first step when you're about to kick off, and we're gonna listen from Dr. Pak and also from Dr. Mona, is to establish the Inter-Ministerial Committee. Having this committee established, it helps you very much to navigate the data on the national level. What exactly needed and what's required, and what are the sectors that you need to track. It's going to be a strong policy tool that helps you move into towards more investment on the cooling sector. Having said that, I would like really join me to welcome. Sorry? Please.
Well, in Panama, we have a national cooling plan, but I don't know if this is aligned with the national cooling action plan that you said.
Yeah. So that's a good question. Let me just provide you a little bit with a history of the NCAP. In 2021, we have as a part of the, like what already Lily mentioned yesterday, the working groups. We have the working group on NCAP. This is like, it has more than 10 members who are working. It has been co-chaired by UNDP and CoolUp. And in this NCAP, we came up with a global methodology on a national cooling action plan. I have a presentation I can provide it, but there is no time for that, to be honest. Out of this global methodology, we started to support countries on developing their own NCAP following this methodology. It has 3 stages and 6 main steps. And perhaps I believe Dr. Pak and Dr. Mona will cover this into their presentation. And later on, after 3 years, we started to see the need for contextualization of this NCAP methodology. We need to somehow make it more customized and tailored into the region. So we started with the first region for MENA. And we, along with our partner RCRI, we started to develop the regional NCAP methodology for this region in particular. And we are going to deploy as part of this project in 2 countries, starting with Morocco and Tunisia, and also more other countries are interested from this region. This methodology is already available publicly, and I would like really to encourage you as on behalf of like the, my secretariat that Panama can join these working groups to learn. Also, we are going to reach out later on after this meeting with more information for all signatory countries on how to join the working groups so we can exchange and learn in a very more structured way. I hope that I clarified the answer, but the methodology is already available so you can follow. And also that part of our support, we are going to open an expression of interest for countries, call of request, to also provide like your needs on how to develop and formulate NCAPs. And it's our part to support you as a signatory to develop your own NCAP. Or even you can update it if you already like develop this and you want to have more enhanced one, because the global methodology, for example, it wasn't covering all of the subsectors. So in the regional one, we started to consider more other subsectors to cover. Okay, so please join me welcoming Dr. Pak, the Under-Secretary of State of Ministry of Environment of Cambodia. Please, Dr. Pak, join me here.
Thank you very much. We are late. So that I will present on the NCAP in Cambodia and some experience have been like we have been developed this one. So you may know this Cambodia is the first country to adopt NCAP methodology and launch its national cooling action plan with the vision to tackle the extreme heat and handle the cooling challenges comprehensively in an integrated manner. So the National Cooling Action Plan support Cambodia long-term development vision in the building a sustainable, clean, green, and low-carbon society based on the climate-friendly strategy and energy efficiency technology in the cooling sector. NCAP also focus in the 5 sectors that building space cooling, food cold chain, healthcare cold chain, mobile air conditioning, and processing cooling. As we have, so that the since early 2023, Cambodia has been implementing in NCAP with a project on the passive cooling strategy for sustainable development in Cambodia. To integrate passive cooling strategy within Cambodia policy and practice through the collaboration with UNEP, UNSCAP, ITC, Clean Cooling Collaborative, and Energy Foundation of China. And we have established like the policy recommendation incorporating passive cooling strategy in the building energy regulation that we have been have released 3 books like Typology, Technical Analysis, Compendium of Passive Cooling Strategy, a brief guide book on the passive cooling strategy, and the guideline for passive cooling strategy that under reviewing, and we will get back to our cooling collision soon. And also we have been like demonstration of the passive cooling strategy application in the pilot building that we have designed Charet in Borai Chankuri, and also we have conduct local data building in baseline and strategy on the site monitoring. And number 3, that we have been conduct awareness and capacity for the large scale replication we launching a community of practice provision of a series of workshop and technical training, including training for trainer, especially for the asset sector. And we have been like conduct regional knowledge exchange with the government and technical peer. Number 4, we also support for the integration of national cooling action plan into Cambodia CCC, CCSP 2024-2033, and the inclusion of greenhouse gas emission reduction from passive cooling strategy and the life target of the Cambodian national determined contribution. And how is the government of Cambodia ensure cross-sectoral coordination and institutional alignment in the implementation of the NCAP, so that the Ministry of Environment, next slide please. The Ministry of Environment is leading the coordination with the interministerial ministerial such as NCSD, Ministry of Land Management, Urban Planning and Construction, Ministry of Mine Energy, and Ministry of Industry, Science and Technology and Innovation. And also the strategic engagement with the development partner. National Action Plan have been integration with the policy, strategy and plan that now is the Cambodia long-term strategy for carbon neutral, Cambodia climate change strategy plan, and now we are under discussion to put the national action plan also in the Cambodia national determined contribution industry that we will be NDC3, we will be submit NDC3 to UNCCC in mid-July this year. We have also hosted a series of interministerial workshops to gather input, build consensus, and validate the NCAP and related guidance document. And we also work with the ITC, university, and national and international experts to conduct cross-sectoral technical study on passive cooling strategy at building level, building efficiency and resilience, and the city level to tackle the urban heat island effective. We also partnership with the private sector and development partners such as UNEP, UNEP Calculation, NCAPs, Energy Foundation China, Global Alliance for Building and Construction, Climate Work Foundation, and Urban Land. Also, we have been conducting monitoring and reporting that MOE, Ministry of Environment, will play a coordination role in tackling progress and facilitating regular inter-agency dialogue. That I think that my presentation, if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Thank you very much.
Doctor, thank you very much, Your Excellency, Dr. Pak, for this impressive strategy, I would say. It's great to see how Cambodia is leading by example really on the formulation of NCAP, and not only there, but also including the cooling and learning from the NCAP into embedding it and mainstreaming it within the other national strategy. I also would like to thank my colleague Manjit for all of his efforts to support Cambodia and other Asian countries along with the NCAP as a partner. So thank you very much. Any other questions to Dr. Pak? I see Bahamas. You have a question?
It was a question from the previous segment. I just wanted to know, in terms of the support package, wanted to understand what is the time frame from the proposal to engagement of a consultant, and what's been the average time frame that the countries that have had a support package agreed to? What's the time frame that they have?
we are going to come with a clear criteria for this expression of interest, but I would say roughly from 3 to 6 months. We already have earlier experience on like within 3 months we can onboard a consultant to help you, especially within the, we know that it's like due submissions this year on the NDC 3.0. Any other exchange with Dr. Beck on Cambodia? Otherwise, I will move quickly to Morocco to learn about the process from Dr. Mona Ben Barak. Okay, please join me. Welcome. Please go ahead. Thank you, Doctor. Sorry. This is the best.
That's why I sent photo without smile. Good afternoon. And good evening. Yeah, I know that you are exhausted, and me too. But I will do. I will try to do quick, and no ask a question. So we're gonna be on time. So, as we know, the cooling is a major issue for public health, food security, and energy performance, and the fight against climate change. Thank you. The National Cooling Action Plan is a vital operational framework designed to implement sustainable cooling measures through targeted policies, programs, and technologies, aiming to address the country's growing cooling demands in a sustainable, equitable, and a climate-resilient manner. I think they changed the last, anyway. And it's no problem. So we can go to the first slide. For the NCAP MENA, the NCAP project MENA is the methodological framework that adapts global best practices to the region-specific cooling context of the MENA in the MENA region. So this project is implemented by the UN Environmental Programme, UNEP Core Coalition, and the Regional Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency with the support of CCAC. This MENA project, includes 17 countries with transversal actions and 2 countries for in national cooling action plan. Next slide, please. So why Morocco? For the Moroccan context, we have the increase in temperature due to climate change and rapid urbanization. It drives growing cooling demands across multiple sectors: space, healthcare, food, industrial processes. We are parties for Kigali Amendments, Montreal Protocol, and we signed the GCP. So the NCAP perfectly aligns with Morocco's national priorities and international commitments, including GCP, the Kigali Amendment, and its engagement with CCAC. Another thing, tackling environmental challenges and advancing a sustainable energy future, positioning the NCAP as a crucial tool to achieve this broader national development and climate objective. Also, in 2021, we developed an action mitigation plan for SLCP, and this NCAP is a continuing process for the issue of HFC. So we have a non-current context also. We have a national strategy for sustainable development, and we have a national strategy for energy, and we have maps and the green hydrogen roadmap, and also for the NDC, Moroccan NDC, which is being reviewed now, we had a set of energy-saving measures, including the implementation of maps for refrigerator and air conditioners. And with this, with NDC 3.0, we will include HFC and different measures. So NDC and national communication. So for our projects, we start the kickoff in Morocco on May 27 in the capital, Rabat. And for this event, we convened key stakeholders, including a representative from Moroccan ministries, from private sector and agency and sustainable development organization and national experts to mark the pivotal start of the NCAP development. So for these stakeholders, and for the opening, we emphasize the global importance of NCAPs and Morocco's commitment to environmental sustainability and the integration of the plan within national energy and climate goals, followed by the overview NCAP development process and interactive discussion. So the objective of the meeting were to present the different components of the project and to lay the foundation for a concrete action plan for sustainable cooling, and also to share the expectation and priorities of various stakeholders, and finally to initiate a participatory process. Following this first day of kickoff of the project, the second day we have an interministerial meeting at the Ministry of Energy Transition and Sustainable Development, also in Rabat, and this one was gathering only the committee members, and the objective was to establish a clear governance framework and to define roles and responsibility of each member. So the discussions were focused on the steering committee mandates, stakeholder identification and composition, and the role definition for members and the coordination mechanism necessary for effective project oversight and collaboration among all involved entities. After that, because the NCAP mission was for 3 days, the third day, and we want to involve private sector. So it was a mission in Casablanca, the economic capital, and we have 3 visits. We met the Association of Refrigeration Professionals, Moroccan professionals, and it's a key organization promoting sustainable practices, collaborating on Refrigerator Expo, and actively supporting NCAP developments. So with this association, we discussed about the opportunities, the challenges, and the constraints, and the partnership for these projects. The second visit was to Ventec, Morocco. It's a company with a significant history of Morocco's cooling sector since 1949. And initially focused on industrial ventilation, then Ventec evolved into a major HVAC presence, representing career and demonstrating expertise in advanced cooling systems like evaporative cooling. And finally, the third visit was to Fradel, another company. It's a leading Moroccan company with over 44 years of experience in refrigeration and air conditioning, and it's recognized for its innovative and energy-efficient solution, particularly in decarbonization, serving diverse sectors and manufacturing its own brand alongside international representations. So for the NCAP process, we have two consulting firms. We have IRZIN and another EDIC for the first one for data collection, and the second one is this data collection. It will be the second one, which will be responsible for the modeling and for the NCAP reports, and it will be like this data collection and some scenarios with the statu quo, with moderate measures, and with the strong optimistic measures. And also they will define the impact of environmental, social and economic impact of this measure. And after that, the best practices and prioritizing the actions. So after that, I can say the vision of Moroccan NCAP is to scale up and mobilize all stakeholders That's why we prone this participatory approach, involving public sector, private sector, and civil society to build a concrete and integrated roadmap for sustainable, socially, technologically advanced, and environmentally friendly cooling through satisfaction of cooling demand, improving energy efficiency, promoting eco-friendly refrigeration and air conditioning technologies, and training for professionals in the cooling sector, training like for skills in system of maintenance, and also for the design and development of the new technologies. And finally, developing standards and regulation to encourage both the use of more efficient technologies and the promotion of research and development of energy efficient technologies. And finally, I want to thank you, the UNEP Cool Coalition, for supporting this project and for the invitation to this event to allow us to share our lunch in NCAP Morocco. And thank you very much.
Yeah, I think with this, like nothing really more to say. I just want to correct the number of the developed NCAPs from the signatory countries. They are only 17. Hopefully in the next year we can report more. Like right now Morocco wasn't considered from 17, so right now we are almost 18. And please feel free when we launch the expression of interests for like a call of request from signatories to develop or formulate NCAPs, make sure that you apply so we can see based on the resource availability how we can support you to formulate your NCAPs, and then we move forward toward the implementation. I'm really grateful, and the last really thought before I give to Lily, I'm really grateful for having this opportunity to get together for the first time as a focal points of the signatories, to learn from each other, to exchange, to work on governance, establishment of the IGCC, having it operationalized by next January, and we can meet not only for tracking the progress, but really taking steps on the implementation of the pledge. It became right now real, and having it here in Bonn, it's something like really near to my heart, because I have been living in Bonn for many years, and it's my favorite city in the world, I would say. So really having this meeting here, it makes it more, I would say, something that remarkable for me as a person. So thank you very much. And last but not least, please, Lily, I would welcome your final remarks to conclude this meeting, and it's 7 p.m. So.
Yeah, I know. It's not exactly like, I don't think anybody wants to hear from me right now. I think everybody wants to go. So I'll be very brief to just say thank you so much. And I think you said it really well, Amer, that it was so nice to have everybody here together and to start to create some kind of a family, you know, around cooling, and a family that looks at cooling not only from one angle, but from many angles. Not only one convention, but many conventions, and not only mitigation, but adaptation. And what I would really love is, this was our first time to do this with all of you, and it would be really great to hear from you how we can do better next time, and how we can make sure that the capacity building is effective and doesn't keep you till 7 p.m. So please do share. After this meeting, we'll share with you a survey where you'll have the opportunity to give your feedback on how we can improve the trainings, the meeting, the next time we do it. But I really would like to thank you for your commitment. Being here at 7 p.m., I just wouldn't imagine still talking with so much passion about cooling. So it makes me it warms my heart. We will also share all of the, this has all been recorded, so we'll be sharing the recordings in case you want to share it with your colleagues and others. There'll be videos of each session, and there'll be a summary report we'll be sharing, and we're also going to follow up on webinars on specific topics that we discussed today, such as Article 6, such as NCAPs, where we had to shorten the session, NDCs. So we will follow up on all of that. Now, I'm talking more than I promised, so let me just say thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your stay, and look forward to continuing our collaboration together on this journey to implementation. Yeah, thanks. And a big, big thanks to the team, which for those of you who weren't at the reception, I'm going to say it again, that the team worked endlessly, especially under the lead of Amr, who I tell everybody is the chief of staff, or my real boss, as I said yesterday. I think you heard from them many times, and I'd like to really deeply thank all of the team members. So Amr, Chloe, Anya, Priska, Benjamin, Genai, and also those who are not here with us online, who's Srinity, Nirupa, Marie-Sophie, and Manjeet, thank you, and Louise. So the team, I think, worked endlessly with all of you, and I really want to give a big round of applause to the team. So thank you. And GIZ. And the rest of the team, which was also, of course, Lydia and Claudia. So big round of applause. Thank you.
And if I can just chip in at this point as well, sorry, I should have put my card up, and apologies for not, but I'd also like to extend the thanks to Lily, because she does an amazing job at making this happen in under, quite short timescales as well. So she's done an amazing job, and we're only here today because of her and her leadership to start with. So I think we should give her a big round of applause accordingly.
Thank you. Thanks.